Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. So glad you're joining us today. Today we're going to be looking at the 3 essentials of friendship. Before we dive in, I want to just encourage you today to hit that subscribe button below so you get notified when new videos come out in any series we have. I'd encourage you to do that right now. Also, if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up or a comment below. It just helps our channel out. Also, do me another favor, go over to the website today. That's beresolute.org, beresolute.org. Do me a favor while you're over there. Sign up for the Men's Daily Devotional. It's short, sweet, to the point, every single day. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get an email in your inbox every single day, and it's fresh and written by me, yours truly. And with that, let's dive into the 3 essentials of friendship. You know, in the Bible, one of those great and defining moments of the nature of spiritual friendship is that moment that Jesus is crowded in a house by people, but meanwhile outside his family, his biological family, is gathered waiting to see him. His friends from inside the house implore him that his family's waiting, and Jesus responds this way in Mark chapter 3, verse 35. He says, "For whoever does the will of God, he is my brother, my sister, and my mother." Now, we cannot deny our need for human relationships, right? Even earthly relationships and family play a critical role in our life, right? But Jesus here infers that another family, a spiritual one, may play a greater role and have greater implications on our life, right? It's the relationships we have with those in God's family that actually become somewhat of a stronger blood relationship to us even than our family itself. And notice the rite of passage here into this family, Jesus says, is doing the will of God. Now, it's undeniable that the spiritual brotherhood might have a deeper and stronger root, deeper and stronger roots than even natural relationships. Listen to what the proverbial writer says in Proverbs 18, verse 24. "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." So why are these spiritual friendships so important? Well, in the Bible, there's a text in one of Paul's letters that actually has a lot to say about this topic. It's found in his letter to the Colossians, chapter 3, by the way, verses 12 through 17, and it reads this way. He says, "Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against another, forgiving each other as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you are called in one body. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ richly dwell within you, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. And whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." Now, let's take a look at 3 evidences from this text on the critical importance of friendship. Evidence 1 is this. It is essential to character. It's essential to character. You got to hear these words again. They're so important. Listen to what Paul says. He says, "Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against another, forgiving each other." You know, spiritual friendship is the incubator for us becoming more like Christ and refining off those rough edges of our character. This does not happen in isolation, fellas. And we need to sometimes force ourselves a bit into these friendships that shape us. I love the word here in this text, bearing, right? It infers that we must push and lift and that it's not going to always be easy. In fact, sometimes friendship is hard, right? We have to lean into what makes friendships hard sometimes. And sometimes we need to bend to put on the character of Christ, including things like compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Here's evidence number 2. It's essential to the design. It's essential to the design. Listen to what Paul says a little further on. He says, to which indeed you are called in one body. You know, we were designed for community. From the very first pages of the Bible, we discover that we were hopelessly alone. We were designed by God for relationships. And here Paul reinforces that with this like one body theme. You know, I think many guys try with all their heart to ignore this reality and the necessity of it. We try to ignore that we were designed to be in relationship with others, trying to function, independently from friendships. But no bodily member can function or survive independently from the spiritual network. It's actually in our design, right? My kids or wife will sometimes at my house grab my tools from the garage and use them. Often, they will use my tools in a way that's, maybe they're not intended to be used. So they will grab a flathead screwdriver and use it to pry open a paint can, or they will use a wrench as a hammer, or the ultimate sin, they will use scissors to cut a wire. And when we function independent of spiritual friendships, we're kind of doing the same. We mistakenly think that we have the tools we need and we don't need other tools in the toolbox. And how wrong we are and how angry I get at them, right? We need those other tools, and those other tools need us, right? This is the design. We are one body with many diverse uses inside of the community of Christ. But together, we complete each other, and we're actually called to function in this way. Now, evidence 3 here from Colossians is this. Friendship is essential for spiritual sharpening. It's essential for spiritual sharpening. Here's what Paul says a little further on. He says, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another with all wisdom, singing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. In a natural sense, we can read, sing, and worship all on our own, and we should. But there is something different about participating in these activities in community and friendship with others. And even more, there is something about doing these activities with men who are both struggling for God and against sin. It's just different, right? We don't know till we experience it. And then when we do experience it, sometimes we can't get enough of it. Besides, the word and our worship and spiritual discipline are not only meant for us to consume individually, but to be shared in communion with others. And this spiritual dynamic is often disregarded by guys. We wrongly believe that studying on our own, praying on our own, singing on our own, and even consuming audio podcasts and online sermons on our own is enough. This privatized religious experience is good, but it's great when it's done in community with other brothers. It's important, as Paul says here, to do it with a right heart and with one another. There is just something supernatural that happens in community that is undeniable. It's the sharpening of our lives by the word and other men of the word. And this just increases the impact of the word, worship, and discipline. So fellas, I want to encourage you today to build friendships, to get out there and build friendships in your spiritual community and take a step toward it. Maybe you're going to challenge yourself today to call someone, to text someone, to send them an email and invite them into your life. Or maybe you need to invite other people into yours, not just for your benefit, but theirs. We'll get out there today and do something. Don't do nothing. And remember, live all in for Him who lived all in for you.